This is the America First hobo himself, Stephen K. Bannon, former and future federal criminal, friend of alleged Chinese dissident who's really not dissidented, right? There are no conspiracies, but there are no coincidences. No, it's not true. Anybody ever gone? How about this? Anybody ever left a place and you're talking to your friend and you're talking to them the whole time, and then you see him at the parking lot? You stop at the beginning of at the edge of the parking lot, and you go, "All right, I'll see you later. So good to see you." And then you start walking, and your cars are like separated by one vehicle in the same spot over in the parking lot because you arrived about the same time, but you just missed each other when you came in, but you parked basically like this, and you're like, "Oh my God, we parked practically next to each other." That would be a coincidence. They happen all the time. As a matter of fact, that's the equivalent of saying there is no correlation, only causation. Good Lord. So China, tell me about it, big boy. Oh, by the way, this is called Harvey. I don't think he means the giant rabbit, but we'll see. Harvey explains how American taxpayers, schools have made China's military superior to America's. Oh boy. Hold on one second. Let me do this real quick. Let's see. Do this one. No, I don't want to. No, wait, I want the actual one. Hold on. Okay, I'll get that one real quick. Let's see. Wait 1 second. Where's the newest one? Dongfeng AQ 2020. I need this. News. The guys on the China show had this picture. I won't be able to. I'll find it in a minute, but we'll do this in a second. Okay, here we go.
Harvey, Derek, first off, I want to talk just briefly about the administrative state and the work that Heritage and organizations like Russ Vote's doing, the importance of staffing up those 4,000 billets, brother. Because the math is the following, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, there's 2.2 million government employees. There's another 2 million, I think, roughly military. And there's 16 million contractors. That's over 20 million people essentially on the government payroll, right? And outside the military, which is getting more and more woke at the top levels of
Okay, first of all, the number of people that are government contractors that he's talking about in that 16 million could be anything. They could be mechanic pools that they send fleet vehicles to, or somebody who makes banners for small business association, job drives.
No. That is.
But basically, we've got a bunch of soldiers standing around being
principally progressives. Derek Harvey, how important is it now to get the posse to get up now to understand that we gotta get through? When we breach the seawall in Normandy, we got to have the troops ready to go up in back of it.
Okay. Armor-piercing shell, tip of the spear. How do you do it? When we breach the wall at Normandy, meaning we have an election where people click on a screen who they would rather have president, and we lose by a relatively strong margin, or at best squeak by with a slight margin, as long as we don't put anyone named Trump on the ballot, which is basically the same as breaching the wall on Normandy. the troops that roll in, that we got to have people backing us up, are basically the Nuge and all of his Michigan militia buddies?
Well, I think it's job number one in preparation at this point in time.
Excuse me, satisfaction is job number one. Right, ladies?
For groups like Heritage, and I commend them for everything they're doing.
Everything? I don't commend anyone for everything they're doing. Some of it's none of my business.
They're the intellectual juggernaut for our effort.
They are the juggernaut. I agree. That's the question.
In his sock drawer.
Yes, I think that's the question that Hamlet asked himself when he was trying to get in shape. To jog or not jog? All right.
I think
that was terrible. I'm ashamed of myself, but it was also slightly clever, and I'm okay with it.
They're bringing
Juggernaut. Juggernaut. It's a juggernaut. It's a common word. You don't even have to be a Marvel fan.
Organization. They're identifying people. They are working on policy, a roadmap, a playbook for the first 180 days, and that includes.
It never occurred to him to work on one for the beginning of the Trump presidency last time?
Includes, training for people that we think are going to be eligible and good nominees to go in these political positions. It's an incredible challenge to take on the administrative state. So you need training.
Hey, asshole. You're talking about a situation in the premise that he just set up, that you run the administrative state. Why is it that Biden and Obama get in and suddenly, or even George W. Bush, they get in, man, they can fucking grease whatever they want. Get in a war, get out of a war, stop something, start something, do big programs, do not, handle infrastructure, set up the ACA, get an authorized use of military force that goes for fucking ever. Whatever your deal is, everybody else can roll in and get that shit because that's what the administrative state wants. But Trump comes in, wants essentially the same thing or nothing at all, and suddenly it's fucking hard.
You need to understand how the rules work.
Well, you should probably run somebody who was president before then and who was paying attention when it happened.
You need partners side by side across the interagency that you're going to be able to rely on. Trump never got that because
he's a terrible judge of character and he doesn't know anybody who can do their job well because he's always been a flim-flam man.
The White House personnel system was really staffed and run by Rance Priebus and the former...
Okay, Rance, so far, we've got Rance Priebus and Juggernaut. I'm getting a very like the Russians, the TV show vibe from this dude. It's like that old Martin Short joke in Jiminy Glick and Lollywood. I love Canadians. They look like Russians who are pretending to be Americans.
National Republican leadership, a lot of Boehner people and things like that. You can't get it done unless you really have the people in the trenches down inside several layers, not just the prime ones that get nominated by the Senate.
Yeah, you got to be in the subdermal deep state. You got to derp state your way around this.
I mean, approved by the Senate, but you have to go down to...
Yeah, you have to get people who will dig in underneath, who would never be approved by the administrative control structure to be approved by the Senate, of course, obviously. And
2 or 3, 4 layers across the administrative state.
Yeah, it's like a layer cake. If most of the layers are shit,
it's essential.
Derek Harvey, talk to us about
Yeah, say something that makes these people not blame me for this.
The Wall Street Journal. I hope Mike Turner is reading that. Head of House Intel. Remember, he's not a subcommittee chair. He's the head of House Intelligence. The Wall Street Journal today.
Yeah, it is an ironic title. That's true.
Talks about the Blinkens. The biggest concern, the toughest conversation they have to have is the Chinese Communist Party's dominance in military artificial intelligence.
Or their pretend intelligence, I think, is a better name. It's not AI so much as PI.
That it's going to be a problem. How did that happen, Derek Harvey? You've been on this for years, sir. Tell me how that happened.
Yeah, you know all about AI. You're a young whippersnapper. You live in a tent between Oakland and Cupertino most of the time with really fucking killer Wi-Fi.
Well, I would say there's probably four things, Steve, and thanks for having me on.
Okay, is that one of them, or all right, never mind.
One is U.S. capital, whether it's Wall Street or venture capitalists like Sequoia,
Like Sequoia or Walmart or Amazon or any like. Yeah, it was Sequoia. It was all those are the people who invested in China, not the people who are just getting shit manufactured there for 2 fucking decades.
are heavily investing in
Like Trump hats, you mean? Like MAGA hats and
the AI and other state-of-the-art intellectual efforts, whether it's quantum computing or AI or underwater sonics or anything.
Wait a minute. Wait, does Glenn Beck know about this? Underwater sonics. Oh my God. The next time we see Glenn Beck, he'll be fat and wet.
Like that. They're heavily investing in all of those
Winston
areas.
Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
Sciences, and they're hoping to profit from it. Two, we got American corporations, whether they're Apple or Microsoft or others, that are partnering and sharing because the Chinese government, the CCP, requires access to their codes and their latest data.
Yeah, again, where was all this during the Trump administration? Because do you guys, does this motherfucker, do any of these idiots know about the Chips and Science Act? Hold on. Biden's chip controls may force Chinese Americans, by the way, any American who's working over there, you don't have to be a Chinese American, working in China's semiconductor firms to choose between their citizenship or their job. By the way, this is China's aircraft carrier. This is their brand new big one. That's it. We didn't hit it, by the way. I don't want you to think. I think they brought over some Russian techs and those guys were smoking. Hold on. Hold on one second. Dunk, dunk. Go back. Let's see what the Science Act. Hold on one second. I love how Bloomberg, for example, has all these things like "fuck the Chips and Science Act." It's going to raise prices, and investors hate it because it raises costs, and anything that raises costs lowers profit. And boo! Meanwhile, they run papers like this about how it's reshaping the auto supply chain, and it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Commercial professional perspective: AI and the Chips Act could reshape auto supply chain. You think? Let's see, where are the let me get this other page. Hold on. This would be here you go. U.S. throws $52 billion at chips, but needs to spend it wisely. That's the Wired opinion. Of course, Wired's definitely going to have a 2 cents on where it should go to and where. Okay, there. Let's see. I should just show you this one. Hold on one second. Oops. This is now this is going to upset the America First crowd because it proves that Trump isn't. Here's the latest hot list of cool chip fabs coming to the U.S. Let's see. Global Foundries and Qualcomm expanding General Foundry footprint in upstate New York got a boost from Qualcomm to commit to buy $7 billion in chips through 2028 using 5G, automotive, Wi-Fi, and IoT, the Internet of Things. IoT, that is. IBM, $20 billion over 10 years to New York to support its various chip-related activities. Intel, $20 billion for 2 fabs in central Ohio under the construction September 2022. Already started to make advanced logic chips. Intel broke ground in 2021 on 2 new fabs in Chandler, Arizona. $20 billion investment. Micron, $15 billion fab for its Boise headquarters to make memory chips. Samsung, $17 billion for Taylor, Texas was announced in 2021. Obviously, Texas rejected any of the CHIPS Act and the funding that went along with it, or any of the tax breaks that went along with it, because, look, they can bootstrap on their own. Texas Instruments' potential $30 billion investment plan includes 4 fabs in Sherman, Texas. Ground was broken in May for a new 300 millimeter wafer fabs. Taiwan-based TSMC has multiple fabs, including one in Camas, Washington, with a $12 billion fab under construction in Phoenix to make chips on the 5 nanometer process. And Wolfspeed, $5 billion for a silicon carbide wafer fab in central North Carolina. That's just since Biden passed the CHIPS Act.
In order to operate and do things in China.
Mm-hmm.
3,
I am going from notes from 2004.
I would add to what Dr. Bratt said, and they are. We have 400 to 500,000 Chinese students here, and they are not, for the most part, studying liberal arts and literature. What they're
we need to start looking at Chinese people cockeyed, and we also should, maybe it's time to revisit that whole internment camp thing. Is that where we're going?
Studying as STEM, science and technology, and
engineering and math, science, technology, engineering. So that's what makes it STEM. They're not here just studying.
If you look at who the scientists are, remember that Australian study we talked about the other day?
No, I don't. It's your clip. Reference it yourself.
Where the Chinese are ahead in 19 and 21 military applications in the state-of-the-art sciences.
Sure. And that's based on what they say. I see. All right.
The scientists that are
23 military technology vectors.
Right.
The Chinese.
Oh yes. And if you don't believe me, just ask them.
Lead, I think in 19 of 23 from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Continue on, sir.
Well, the scientists that are driving that, were trained, educated in America at our universities. The profit motive.
That's right. It's what the problem is? Education. We've got to put a stop, because the deep state and big university are working together.
For our universities is enabling China to go forward. In addition, China pays for some of these scientists and others to stay here and work and gain access in defense industry in Silicon Valley. They spend
Silicon Valley. That's the area around Van Nuys and Agora Hills, right? Never mind.
A few years, and they then go back with what they know, the intellectual knowledge. They don't necessarily have to take. They're also in.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello, welcome to the Huawei exhibition. What can I do for you?
Can you please introduce yourself?
I am the first virtual human employee of Huawei Cloud. My Chinese name is Yan Shen. You can also call me Sarah. I'm created by Huawei's proprietary digital content pipeline.
Do you need sleep?
No, but I do dream, just like you.
What's your favorite thing?
Chat with you.
Do you
Again, this is the state of the art of Chinese AI right now.
have a boyfriend?
Do you have a boyfriend?
Do you have the right person to introduce to me?
Sing a song?
My pleasure.
It's not until you fall that you fly. When your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable.
Dear God, I can't imagine what the AI inside their missiles are like.
In our labs, our American labs, okay, run by the US government.
Mm-hmm.
And they go back and they work.
Yeah, so basically, the picture he's painting is that Chinese people come over, they go to university, they immediately get a job working in highly secretive American industries and defense contractors and government jobs, and they just basically take notes on all of our technology, and then they race back to China.
So those are...
I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but I think I used more words to say that than he did.
Those are some critical areas. If we compare this to Russia, I mean, the Soviet Union, the old Soviet days, we did not allow our adversary to have any more than 10, 11, or 12, depending upon the year, people being educated in our highest graduate and doctoral programs in these areas.
Yeah, but we were in a nuclear Cold War with them. This is just an ever-growing cyber issue with a former trade partner that has jumped the shark.
10 or 12. Derek, before I leave you, I've got to get to this Mike Turner and the Sequoia. Because for Blinken to go over and kowtow, and this is humiliation to people in this country, and it's dangerous.
No, it isn't.
Because the CCP thinks they're winning.
It's good. Imagine this is the dude who uses military phrasing all the time. Imagine the idea, like, never let them think they're winning. That's great. What if they think they're winning, they do stupid shit and we gain information from them getting sort of arrogant in their activities? That's a possibility, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Also, what the fuck? Because he goes over and has a meeting there, we're not letting them into the country. I'm just saying.
Okay, because they've got a compromised regime in the White House and at the Pentagon.
Citation needed.
Sequoia Capital, Neil Shen, and Mike Turner, and people in Mike Turner's district are to be lighting his phone up. Why are we not investigating this? Why has the Wall Street Journal got to say, oh, the Chinese are ahead of us in artificial intelligence?
No, they aren't.
And now they've got an electronic warfare operation down in Cuba, 90 miles off the coast, and they're surrounding us in the Caribbean, but we're funding it.
They're surrounding us in the Caribbean. There's no way out. It's they've got a listening post in Cuba, which shocks no one. Apparently started in 2019. Or at least they were aware of it in 2019. Who was president then? I forget.
But why is there not an investigation on this, Derek Harvey?
What into when it started under Trump? Good question.
Well, the answer to that is you take a look at the elite.
The elite. The elite? Elite what?
Blinken is going over there and he's concerned about AI, but this.
So he shouldn't be, or he should be? Fucking hell.
Securities and Exchange Commission, the political leadership, both Democrat and Republican, are taking money from the Wall Street, venture capitalists, and big corporations and universities that are benefiting from these investments and profits that are generated from investments in China.
I don't even know where to start. So the idea is that if you get money from a venture capitalist because they support you as a Republican candidate, which is the main target audience, they're only doing that because they're getting money from China and they want more investments in China. And so the Republicans themselves, who benefit from more venture capital backed donations than the Democrats by fucking far, apparently the ones that are in the deepest with China. And this is my problem, like fucking how?
And funding of these initiatives, be it in biosciences or artificial intelligence. They're not looking at the causation. They're looking at if you're a doctor, you know, they're treating a symptom, but they're not looking for the actual disease. And we need to treat the disease. We need to.
All right, I gotta say, like, I wanted this to be at least an intellectual fair fight about China's, growth versus the reality versus the mythology, and what part our government played in supporting China artificially for a while, and whether that was a smart play or a dumb play, or whether we were aware of the dangers and mitigated them as best we could because we knew it financially benefited most of the American people, cheap goods, yada yada yada. But at a certain point, I don't even know what the fuck this dude is talking about.
Enforce our laws. We don't need any more laws.
We don't need to regulate AI. We can just use traffic laws for it.
What we need is enforcement of our current laws and rigorous enforcement of our regulations. Okay.
Rigorous enforcement of regulations. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say in the Republican Party, I don't think that's going to fly.
Derek, where's the site they go to find out more information about you?
Oh, fuck off. Where can people find you if they want to be even more confused? What a bunch of ass. Okay, so let's go to maybe this guy. Maybe, I don't know. Can it get dumber? This is a guy named Dave Bratt. He's the dean of the Liberty University School of Business. Yeah, the Liberty University School of Business. Dave Bratt walks through China outpacing U.S. on innovations and patents. A lot of founding fathers pictures around him. Look, founding fathers and Jesus getting, walking into the temple and getting a Messiah's welcome. Ironically enough. Also, it looks like that's smaller than the door frame. Is he just hanging pictures over that doorway, or I don't know what the fuck's going on. Anyways, let's see what Liberty University's School of Business. See if they're up to date.
Dave Bratt, I think we have your charts up. Let's go hit it from the top.
Yeah, give me some charts, baby. That other guy was just, grabbing at his crotch hairs.
And let's go through your analysis of the debt issue with the crowding out effect.
Good. All right. So Denver just pop up.
Yeah, good. Let me get you up there, man. It's all I'm going to tell you. I'm Wolfman Jack, baby. We're going to be talking about China.
Whatever you want first.
I don't know why that triggered my Wolfman Jack. That was pretty damn close, you bastard.
The debt charts. You'll see the deficits. The first one I put up just.
The deficits. Okay, we've got deficits. We've got juggernaut. We've got.
In his sock drawer.
All right.
To show. Back when we were under COVID, the blue lines are the huge spikes for COVID. And then the anticipated deficits were, of course, way, down, forecast to be way down. Of course, that did not happen. The deficit.
Now, this is the deficits caused by COVID. This is the extra stuff. And that's a yearly deficit, by the way. It's not the overall debt long term. And was it a Democrat or a Republican? I forget that caused that surplus. And then, of course, was there any reason to believe that the Biden administration's choices, because here's the recovery, and then we get, when we get to Obama, we get to about here, where we're leveling, cost of living increases being what they are, and then Trump comes in and that's the future's fault. Now, I'm sure this is a chart that goes from 1998 to 2026. I'm certain, and I know you are too, that he's going to show us another chart that shows what the not what the projected deficit is here, but what they actually are going to be with the modifications, like how they've been. Let's see.
Are staying
because this is U.S. Treasury CBO. No date on this, but okay.
Up with those blue bars, and that's what McCarthy and the Republicans just accomplished, a continuation of those blue bars forever.
I see. So in his estimation, COVID did this to the deficit rather. And the U.S. deficit is now going to stay here and just do this forever. Because the government now, based on Biden's budget, which has cut $1 trillion every year, not to mention the ends of these other programs, has gone down like this, the government is now spending 3 times all the time what it spent up until Trump was president. So I guess what we draw from this, kids, is that the United States, while its debt was an issue leading up to the Trump administration, the Trump administration itself triggered a situation where the American debt tripled and stayed that way for fucking ever.
Next chart, just 2 seconds on it.
Oop. No, where's the chart that shows the modification that last chart was not reflective of reality? Didn't he just promise us that the big tall blue bars were going forever? You can't just jump fucking past it, dummy.
I just want people to see that we are not living in normal times.
Yeah, we just had a big fucking pandemic and the last president was a fucking lunatic. Yeah, we know. And?
Right? Normal times was the 1960s all the way up until a few years ago.
Well, I mean, it depends on if you took the brown acid or not. The 60s till now was just normal. AIDS, 9/11, the Wall Street crash, the dot-com bubble, all the OPEC crisis, gas lines in the 70s. That was normal.
And now we are in economic crazy land. That spike down is the new deficit, and it looks like it's popping up, but we just baked in the cake the fact that blue line is going to stay plunged down way out of all historic norms. Well,
no, actually. That's not what this shows at fucking all. It shows that there was that government spending was the solution that we came up with in a time where there were there's been no other comparable moments, because obviously in this he's not including the deficit spending of the around World War II, for example, which was larger. And then if you'll notice, here's the line. And it's definitely going below a certain line during the Trump administration, it would seem. And 2008, I guess, didn't help any, although these numbers are very small, so it's hard to. And then it jagged down, of course, during COVID, because the entire fucking world shut down, not just us. And then right now, it's kind of back up at it's on its way back up to this general zone. And it's not doing it so quickly that it would wreck the fucking economy. I don't know.
What does that get you if you're sending?
That gets you back to normal after a major horrible thing? I don't know. What do you think an EKG looks like with somebody's heartbeat before and after the heart attack and when they've been defibrillated, fuckhead?
All your money to the government to do pronoun studies and green stuff and all sorts of artificial.
For the record, those things are incredibly cheap. I don't know if you noticed this. None of that's expensive.
Disturbances to the market.
Disturbances to the market. What was the big over-under cost for all American corporations to consider the idea of pronouns sometimes? What if you're a CEO and that fucked up your bottom line? You're an idiot.
What happens? Well, what happens is you don't get any more patents on the next chart.
Yes, American ingenuity has gone in the shitter. I don't know if you've noticed. Don't pay any attention to this AI shit. There have been no patents in America. America's not patenting anything. Nobody's inventing any fucking thing. Nobody. And those that are just, well,
the U.S.
We'll see what he says.
Has leveled out.
We've leveled out. That's 2018, fuckhead. That says 2018. 1990 to 2018. Total patent grants by filing office, 1990 to 2018. And by the way, China filing these patents could be just paperwork. Doesn't mean what they're filing patents on actually fucking work. And their numbers are always triple bullshit. And we're still far and away, I guess so, Europe, Japan, and South Korea, you guys are doomed. We're kicking your ass, and we're terrible.
Not growing anymore.
We're not growing anymore. America, you're not growing. Nothing, like, I know some of you think some new tech shit has actually happened in the recent. It hasn't. AI, get out of here. It all ended back then with the first introduction of a washing machine that texts you when it's done.
China's patents are going through the roof, and as you
well, what they really need is a patent on how to patch the roof. I think is where the trouble lies.
You just said, guess where they're getting them from? They're getting them from MIT in the United States. They're getting them from the Department of Defense. They're getting them.
All right, okay. Look, if they're stealing, that's one thing, and that's a complaint you can have, and like intellectual property theft is an issue or whatever. But if they're stealing from us, it's our innovation. You can't say we've stopped innovating if all of their patents are stolen from people who are creating innovative patents. What are you fucking talking about? That is so absurd on its what? We're not, if we stop, like, this is getting into like Microsoft having to give Apple money because Apple was its R&D factory. Like, how are we going to steal how we do Windows if Apple collapses? What the fuck are you talking about? We don't innovate anymore, Steve. And if we stop, what are the Chinese going to have to steal? It's sad. Then what the hell?
From our defense firms and contractors.
Right, again. Yes, they're ours. Apparently we are innovative as fuck. We've been innovating the shit out of it. It's just they're filing them before us because what we I mean, this is just dumb. Also, these are percentages. Total patent grants by filing 1990 to 2018. Okay.
The next chart on patents is even more problematic.
Oh dear. The next chart on patents is even worse than the one that stops in 2018 and shows that we're not innovating anymore because the Chinese are stealing our patentable patent things.
It shows elite capture at the highest levels.
Elite capture at the highest levels. Yes, the elites have captured the uninnovative deadening of the American economy. They have taken control of it, and they are seizing all the wealth and power of the powerless and the unwealthy.
1% of our firms in the U.S. are doing 50% of the patents.
Yeah, because tech patents are easier to do than physical patents. And every tech patent that comes out, especially when it's around code, all right, let me give you an example of just, can I just show you how fucking dumb? How many patents does Apple have? Apple has a total of 95,500 patents globally. These patents belong to 34,137 unique patent families. Out of 95,500 patents, 78,104 patents are active. They are using 78,000 patented devices or elements of their devices. Like, they patent every little part of it, how they grind the lens, what the fitting for the lens, all the aspects of it have a secondary patent. One device will have, on the tech level, unlike the fucking cotton gin or something, will have like 19 patents built into it, and they're all used. Of course, 1% does that because only 1% of companies create things that are that complex. And this motherfucker's like, why has nobody been able to beat the flint and the steel?
So they're not even creating all of what this means is you have monopolies, right? We put.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means the areas where there is the most patent growth by volume is in areas that are covered only by a few companies. Does McDonald's definitely has some patents. No doubt about it. Hold on. How many patents does McDonald's hold? McDonald's, on the other hand, has 100 patents globally, out of which 56 have been granted. They struck out on the other half. Of these 100%, 14 patents, 14% of them are active, which would be 14. Pardon me if there's too much math. Australia is where McDonald's has filed the maximum number of patents, followed by Europe and Asia. McDonald's has 100 patents. Now, do you think McDonald's or any of the fast food, and by the way, a bunch of companies use patents that McDonald's owns for their processing of their food and how their cups are made and blah, blah, blah. This is just stupid.
Where's Dick? Hi, Dick. Do we like Dick? Yes.
What?
Monopolies in charge of our entire economy.
What? I'm just an idiot.
They're either producing the patents or they're buying them from the small guys. How do you know that? Well, look at that line way at the bottom. There's the small guys. The new entrants are doing less than 10% of our patents. So we have a monopoly economy.
No, you don't. And by the way, this has nothing to do with the importance of or the density of these patents, the impact that these patents have at all. The volume number has nothing to do with the worth. The fact is that high-tech companies make more patents because they have 5 per device or 5 per mechanism. Because you're not gonna, somebody has the patent on having a camera phone and somebody else borrows it, but there's a myriad of ways of doing that or doing it better. And everybody patents a new way to do it better or their own methodology so nobody can steal. This is stupid.
China's stealing. By the way, Brookings never mentioned China in this story. So that's why you need a populist economics. And then the last charts are the most devastating. World War II, Normandy, our productive capacity. The top chart, that is our capital stock. In Macroeconomics 101.
Center capital stock at continental national prices for China, I see.
Capital is what causes economic growth. The top chart is Chinese capital growth. It's the capital stock, the total capital they have to work with is.
Dude, can you tell this asshole is just about to walk into a fucking rake?
$99 trillion.
This guy thinks China is sitting on $99 trillion of capital right now. That is actually indicative of fucking hell.
It's going straight up to the moon, as you see.
The numbers should skyrocket downward.
No, it fucking well isn't. All right. Before we even move on from this, hold on. China's real estate slump, predicted to last for years, threatening to spill into the wider region. We only assume an L-shaped recovery. By the way, L-shaped recovery. Why would you need a recovery? They've got $99 trillion. They're just sitting on fucking money. We only assume an L-shaped recovery in the property sector in the coming years. Goldman Sachs economist wrote in a weekend note. J.P. Morgan's Tai Hui told CNBC, I think that recovery is going to be slow, but I think there's also a huge divergence between the state-owned developers versus the private sector developers. Morgan Stanley, in his mid-year outlook report, warned that further weakness in the property sector will likely bring more headwinds for China's growth. How can you have headwinds if you're sitting on this? That's not a headwind. The only headwinds you're going to experience are the blast radius from the wind when it breaks the sound barrier. Hold on one second. China's property sector recovery loses steam after home prices face strong headwinds, investments decline. New home prices in Beijing, Shanghai, and other Tier 1 cities rose 0.1% month on month in May, slowing from April's 0.4% gain, which, by the way, the CCP will not allow a non-positive number, so that's the closest one they could have where people wouldn't just scream bullshit. 0.1%. Lived-in home prices in Tier 1 cities declined 0.4%, negative 0.4% in May, reversing from a 2% gain, a 0.2% gain posted a month earlier, because you can measure that. Let's go to, let's see, Chinese eating graveyard. This is probably one of my favorite stories lately. Hold on one second. I got to shrink this down. Electric car graveyard. Thousands of EVs left deserted by Chinese car sharing and rental firm. See those? Those are cars reported. You know how you've been hearing that the Chinese EV market is outpacing all the other electric vehicle markets on the planet? Right? By far. Yeah. That's because they make them, register them as if they have been sold, and then abandon them. Yeah, you're right, CSL. There's no historical context, by the way, to it being nowhere. Yes, again, we get to that whole, like, dude who was 6 feet tall, who was in a 6-foot hole, climbs out and goes, I'm 12 feet tall now. The math is extraordinary. See that? Yeah. No one is ever going to drive those cars. The tires are going flat. The batteries are fading. They are rusting away in a field. They just sit there. That's it. These aren't rolling out of the factory. This isn't outside the factory where they're ready to be deployed. They're just fucking left to rot. Do you don't believe me? You want to see another picture where it's even worse? Give me one second. Images. What? There we go. Hold on one second. Trying to code. This is 2021. This is the South. Oops, get out of here. China's car cemetery for thousands of vehicles damaged in the Hunan floods. These are ones that are. But remember that whole thing about the. I'll show this in a second. Remember that whole thing about there was that flood under the bridge, but nobody was hurt. Remember that? Half these were underground or under that bridge. Sit abandoned in this car park at the provincial capital of Zhengzhou. Good stuff. Let's take another look. This is let me go back to here. This is the. Should we do the bicycles? Yeah, this is pretty fucking amazing. How about not? Let's not do car sharing. That's where those were. A bunch of those were bought from that. Hold on, let's do this. Okay. Load up. There we go. So the idea was they set up these loan systems where a company's going to go like, all these new electric vehicles. Hold on. All these new electric vehicles are going to be great because people aren't going to own them because it's China. And get the fuck back here. Hold on. I need to show you this picture. Related content. There you go. This is this. Yeah, the Daily Mail will show it. People will get these cars and they won't have to own them because it's communist China. You won't own a car. You'll just, use an app and you'll get one like those, like the bike sharing situation. Okay. So this is going to be crazy. So they decided to do that with cars, okay? Because it went so well with bicycles. These are these electric sharing bikes that you get. You can rent a bike, and then you park it. These are those bikes. They made genuinely millions of them for this Mobike company, Ofo and Xiaoming Dangshi and Xiaoming bike, you know, and different colors and all that kind of stuff, and baskets for people to use. And you're absolutely right to think, what a fucking waste. Like, I honestly, like, I have half a mind to just roll up with a truck and go, all right, just let's start moving these things. I'm going to hand them out. But I'm going to, like, all over the world. Just send these bikes to fucking, like, Africa and the Sudan, and especially, and then South America, and places where anybody would just kill to have a decent bike. Just round them the fuck up and send them out. Yeah. And this is what this asshole thinks economic growth looks like. Well, of course it looks like that. If you hand out money to a company to make bikes, to buy from the government-backed companies, and they can pretend that that was an actual sale, and then whatever they make, you just put it in a fucking field. So stupid. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, it's a rocket ship. Underneath that is the United States capital stock.
All right. Now, here's the United States capital stock. Including our circumstance with our debt, anyways, that's pretty normal. That doesn't look too extreme. It definitely looks better than kind of an averaging. Right? That looks pretty that looks more realistic anyways. Good Lord.
Our capital stock is less than China.
Yeah, but we supposedly have 4 times as few people, stupid, and theirs is bullshit.
Their economy's way smaller still. Their capital stock is way bigger. Why?
Well, first of all, are you using yuan or dollars?
Because they're investing. They don't waste their money.
Okay, hold on. Because they're investing? Fuck, this guy's dumb. Can you imagine what this asshole would be saying if that was the US number? Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Also 85. Governments around the world owe 85.7 trillion according to the latest data. The IF. How's it go? Debt to GDP. Hold on. Where are we? Now, a couple things. Okay, here's debt to GDP. We just saw the Chinese number is China's debt to GDP ratio is not factored on this. Bloomberg's using a number of their own equating. This India Times is not, they're not trusting China's number. But China's debt to GDP ratio is 279%. That's higher than Japan's. Japan is number 1 on this chart. The U.S. is number 5 at 116%. This is 2013 to 2023. And by the way, look at America's debt to GDP right here. Doink. See a little spike? That's COVID. A boink. And now it's down to here. So, there's our spike. Boink. Here you go. Here's where am I? Doink. Here you go. That's the spike of COVID. And there, I was pointing a little high. Right there. Moving back down. All right, now, so that's, by the way, percentage debt to GDP. The other factor is, let's go back to here. Japan's at 239%. Everybody's like, fuck, Japan's in deep trouble. China is at 279% debt to GDP. Where the fuck does this guy think he's getting his numbers from?
So our capital stock has grown at 15% over the last 10 years. The Chinese capital stock has grown at 150%.
Yeah, that's logical. I believe that. Why wouldn't you believe that? Hold on. Hold on one second. Yeah, Lay's Real Talk went into this. Let's see, national interest. CEIC. China's GDP accurate? Blah, blah, is it accurate? Well, here, let me show you real quick. Now, so this is Lay. Lay has a show called Lay's Real Talk. And she went through, because she was being questioned by some of the people in her chat. She does a lot of economic stuff. She was being questioned by a bunch of her viewers on, like, what's their real GDP? And so the publicized versus, what they're really seeing, their assumed growth and contraction, and all their numbers. And she went through and broke down, like, how they regionally inflate numbers, their highway traffic and their freight traffic, their passenger road traffic, and compared that to how much they say they've grown. So if you say, like, we've sold 5 times as many cars as we sold in the years before, but your road traffic goes down, something's hinky, right? So anyways, they go through this whole thing, and she goes through this. Martinez is this guy who did this, judged the real GDPs of countries based on the satellite imagery of lights at night. The idea being that people who are burning the midnight oil, or factories, or anything that's going on, they have more lights on. And you can tell a country's growth by how many areas, start getting electricity and leaving it on, and all that kind of shit. And so in 1992, China's GDP was 493 billion. In 2022, China's GDP was 17 billion. That's what they said, with an annual growth rate of 12%. But they've been inflating, according to the Martinez method. They inflated their numbers yearly by 35%. And the adjusted annual GDP growth rate would be 8.2% from then. So the annual growth rate, which they said was 12%, is actually closer to 8%, even with the extraordinary growth that they've seen, because they're building a lot of empty buildings. It's not the same fucking thing. Digging a hole and paying someone to fill it in, that kind of stuff isn't real GDP growth. And instead of being at $17 billion, their adjusted 2022 GDP is $5.3 trillion. That is less than Japan. And their debt is somewhere in the order of $11 trillion. I mean, it's not like at this point, it's really fucking obvious. Hold on, let me scrap this down. So yeah, allegedly they have a $17 trillion economy, and I would like to remind everybody that the U.S. has a $26 trillion economy, 22 at our worst, and our debt to income ratio, our debt to GDP is about 116%. Theirs is 275%. And they're lying about the GDP number. They're lying about the base number, the comparison. So it may be closer to, at that point, what are we saying? If we go by $5.6 trillion, hold on one second. I got a month. So they're 393%, if my math is correct. 393% GDP to debt ratio. Fucking hell. Slayer Chick, feel free to doze off. I'll try and speak a little softer. Don't worry about it. Okay. Yeah, their debt to GDP ratio is closer to 400%. Fucking hell.
Over the past 10 years, they're dwarfing us.
You're an idiot. Not even fucking close. Dude's never even fucking been there. It's one thing to believe the numbers they give you, sight unseen. It's another thing entirely to even talk like this if you've never fucking been to China. I've been to China a lot. I like the Chinese people. I love Chinese culture. And I was horrified by the state of the country.
So it used to be, getting back to the debt, you could say we're going to grow our way out of this. This chart shows you that is not the case.
No, it doesn't.
We are not investing in our country.
Yes, we are. But look, if you work really hard and you buy a TV set and you fix up your lawn and you add a bathroom to your house and someone comes in and steals your TV set and your turf and your sink fixtures, did you not invest in your country? Were you just not, it was just the gumption on your part, or were you stolen from? Should the complaint be that those things are missing? Not because should somebody be able to call you lazy? Look at your yard. What kind of an asshole lives like this? Like, my shit was stolen. Well, did you really put the work in?
The capital investment is about $1 trillion a year out of a $25 trillion economy. That is not good enough. We need
No, it isn't. U.S. capital investment is not $1 trillion a year. Good Lord.
No.
This fucker teaches at the Liberty University School of Business. What do? Pray to balance their books?
Structure, bringing the jobs back. We need to get real stiff with China and
well, trust me.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
Not a problem.
Moon River. Decouple immediately.
Decouple immediately. Well, I mean, you'd have to talk to Ivanka because she's going to be mad. She's going to lose her patents.
For the sake of Taiwan and geopolitics, much less just saving the United States economy.
And decouple their access to the capital markets. It's one of the reasons the capital stock is up.
Absolutely.
A lot of this is underwritten by the United States. This gets back to your...
By the way, a lot of this is underwritten by the United States. Why would that be? Because rich private assholes decide to invest in China because they don't give a shit about Uyghur slave labor? Or anti-democracy, violent government action against people in Hong Kong?
Your central thesis, that productivity...
He has a thesis?
Really productivity increase in the United States have not done anything since the 70s.
Fuck you.
And that is that we have financialized the economy. So the GDP looks higher. All this looks higher. But you financialize the economy without actually growing underlying productivity, manufacturing, the making of things. And this gets down to the bottom. This is how we become a tributary state as a service economy to serve.
Oh, good Lord. These motherfuckers have no idea what's made in the United States or how much. Look, okay, hold on one second. Can I show you something? This might shock people. Almost as much as the Jimmy Dores of the world were shocked to find out that the rail workers that Biden actually worked to try and balance their needs against that of the railway company. Most of them average $116,000 a year in salary, and have more variability in their schedule than any office worker does. But we'll get there in a minute. Hold on one second. Let's see. I'll do that one. Let's see. Hold on one second. I'm going to bring a couple of things up. And then I need a statistical page. There we go. All right. Let's go to here. Clump this out. This is just a generalized one right here. Ashtead profits jump 30% as U.S. manufacturing moves onshore. This is June 13th, 2023. This is pretty fucking new. Ashtead profits jump 30% as U.S. manufacturing moves onshore. UK equipment rental group sees momentum from big construction projects and Biden legislation. Ashtead, the equipment rental group, says a surge in U.S. construction activity amid the move by businesses to onshore manufacturing boosted profits by almost a third. The UK-listed company said pre-tax profits for the year to April rose 30% to $2.2 billion on a 24% rise in revenue at constant currency at $9.7 billion. The U.S., where it trades under the name Sunbelt Rentals, accounts for about 90% of Ashtead's revenue. Rental revenue in the United States rose 23%. Underpinned by Biden's Inflation Reduction Act intended to stimulate clean technology investment, as well as legislation that aims to increase spending on infrastructure and the domestic supply of semiconductors, U.S. manufacturers were investing in modernizing domestic facilities, said Chief Executive Brendan Horgan. Okay, there we go. Opinion. Making manufacturing great again. This is good, our old friend Paul Krugman. Back when Donald Trump began his political rise, it was common for mainstream pundits to attribute his support to economic anxiety. It's true that Trump himself was obsessed with trade deficits and blah, blah, blah. Here's another chart that dude will like. Hold on one second. Let me screw that down. Draw plus. Okay. Total construction spending in the United States. Total construction spending, manufacturing in the United States. This is total spending on manufacturing in the United States. This is here we are at 24. This is basically. Here's the Recovery Act. There's when we crashed. And then after that, here's Obama. Just tack, building this thing up, edged out here. And then we get into 2016. This is around people don't know what's going to happen. Trump gets in office, does a tax cut. Nothing happens. Didn't help anything. There's a Trump trade war. That's when it started. A little bit of a hump around 2020. And then because people were and then it collapsed, of course. And then we get into here because it's steadied out or whatever. And then we go to the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act, and look at that. Now, why wouldn't that guy show that chart? This is total construction spending, manufacturing in the United States. This isn't just government spending. This is in general. Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act right here. Voop. Pow. Al needs a producer that can give him the proper thing to do on that cue. Which one? We spend more money than the Chinese make over many, many years annually. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the infrastructure bill and the CHIPS Act he didn't even put that in there. Because a lot of that stuff, by the way, is introduced right about here. This is where the infrastructure bill spending starts, because they passed it, but there was a delay on when those projects start. So again, and here we go. Manufacturing index. Industry statistics. Manufacturing in brief. Here we go. Let me do this real quick. Blow you guys up. There you go. The All You America you faux America First maggots are going to be very upset. Some brief figures on the U.S. manufacturing, including the following: 2021 manufacturing contributed 2.3 trillion of U.S. GDP, amounting to 12% of total U.S. GDP, including direct and indirect (quote) purchases from other industries. Value-added manufacturing contributed an estimated 24% of GDP. In 2020, the manufacturing imported 18%, resulting in a 10% the output being of foreign origin. According to the current population survey, there were 14.7 million employees in U.S. manufacturing in 2021, representing 9.6% of the total U.S. employment. 9% of American workers are in manufacturing. Manufacturing accounted for 76% of U.S. environmental impact, according to NISD's Manufacturing Cost Guide. Average compensation in U.S. manufacturing is 8% higher than that for the total private industry. U.S. as a brand. U.S. ranks 10th among 49 countries in Statistica's Made in Country Index, ranks 8th in the Ipsos Brands Poll. Now, machinery, computers and electronics, electronic equipment, appliances, transportation equipment, and manufacturing. The computers and electronics, this chart starts in 2005. Starts in 2005. And then there's this little jag right here, 2001. Look at that, 2020, around the blue. This is machinery. Drops flat, and then at 2021, pow. Here's that's total manufacturing. These are these lines combined. The gray line is electrical equipment and appliances. Pow. 2021. Look right here. Look at that line right there. Here's the electrical equipment and appliances. 2021 flattened out into 2021, gone up. And then there's this little bobble in this is computers and electronics, and then it's on the rise. This is manufactured in the United States, in whole or in part. Manufacturing growth, 100th percentile. Ireland, there's this kind of state. The United States is right about here. We're in the 50th percentile. Just so you know, Ireland's way up here as far as what you make versus what you use. And then the what you make and all that kind of stuff. There's the U.S. is the blue in here. This is the percent, billions of dollars in U.S. ranks first and seventh manufacturing industries in total. We make chemicals and pharmaceuticals. That's a huge part of what we do. We make computer equipment, electronic equipment. And then you'll notice that the row here, whatever, and Germany is kind of in a mix here. I don't know why they're using yellow for both or whatever. And China's in the orange, which should be, you would think that if you listen to the talk, especially in all these areas, you'd think that China would be the biggest number in all of this. And it isn't. It's not even the biggest number. Look, we're almost even in pharmaceuticals and chemicals, and we're even in production of electronics with China. And again, they are a country that is, physically 4 times our size, and allegedly population-wise, same way.
The economic powerhouse that the Chinese Communist Party is building on your nickel. This is what we got to undertake.
He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Yammering. This is bullshit. This is scaring the dunces.
Dave, what's your social media? Because I'm going to get Derek in here next.
Get the fuck out of here. I don't need to be around when he does his social media stuff. And by the way, I hope this doesn't get too boring for you guys when I chase this shit down, because it just drives me fucking crazy. It's so far from any kind of reality. Let's see. Productivity. And by the way, here's another. This is a fun one. This is productivity. The 5-year annual growth compound in labor productivity is down 6%. This is just to 2020. Here's this is the blue is private non-farm. Right around the Trump tax cut, you'll notice that shortly thereafter, as it starts factoring into the economy, that went down, that went down, that went down, that went down. That's why we were headed into a recession in February of 2020. And at the beginning of 2020, they couldn't fight it off. And that's why Trump was screaming all of 2019 for negative interest rates, because he wanted people to be able to borrow money, because there wasn't any money in the economy, because he'd basically just given it all back, and a lot of people just spent it elsewhere or sat on it or invested it and were making day trade money off of it. it didn't amount to like them building, you know, new buildings and building, you know, adding manufacturing jobs and shit like that. It didn't work that way. They just bought back their own stocks and sat on shit and figured they'd ride it out and gain the, you know, look at it as like a way to park money for the next decade. And all that, because of it, all of it went down. There's your productivity under Trump because of the output was just shit. Now, we are still 9th in output among, per hour among 133 countries. Even with all this, we are we're in the top 10 in terms of productivity, and that includes other countries that have twice our population, like India and China. Okay, the U.S. ranking, we're 4th in 2020 patent applications, 5th in 2020 research and development expenditures as a percentage of GDP, 17th in 2019 researchers per million people, 22nd in 2018 journal article publication per capita, competitiveness index, the IMD World Competitiveness Index, which measures competitiveness for conducting business, ranked the U.S. 10th. We're not number 1 in competitiveness, but that's because lifestyle is a huge part of this. We actually live our lives. That's always going to be the case. Once you level, it's kind of like in countries where people have a lot of children because they need somebody to take care of them. And then once they get a retirement plan or they have some sort of future, they have fewer children and that kind of stuff. It's a similar affect. They're less productive in creating children for, you know, workers. And there. Oh, thank you, JD Christie, for the Chud Fund. By the way, you're watching House Parks Mega Worldwide. I know I went long. I'm almost done. Types of goods produced in billions. We got a miscellaneous manufacturing. Big part of this green is computer products. Look at that. That's U.S. That's manufactured computer products. That's us. If you asked any Republican how many, you know, electronic or computer-related devices are made in the United States, they'd say, what? None? Billions of chained 2012 dollars over the course of from 2006 to 2021. In stuff as far as what's paid to be made in the, you know, manufactured in the country. Just saying. Thanks. Okay, good. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I get too nerdy with this. Oh, you're in the ER? Oh no, Pukache. I hope you're okay. I mean, or whoever you're with turns out to be okay. So, 2 idiots selling something. That's all I'm going to say. And that's it for tonight because I got to go and I went late and I've got radio tomorrow. And tomorrow, Boston Bryant is going to be on with us for the second half of the first hour. And then Philip Ittner's going to join us in the second hour. So it's very guest heavy. Me and Johnny Million and I are only going to have like the first 2 segments to yammer about whatever or listen to, you know, my stomach growl or him, you know, doing fart noises. It's going to be crazy at the top just so we can fit it all in. Kids, for tonight, let's just reiterate part of what we learned tonight. A big part of which is, if I may, and I think that I can, that China's real GDP may actually be closer to $5.3 trillion instead of $17 trillion, which everybody clamors about, including people here whinging about this all the fucking time. 5.3, and that's with 3 times the number of people in their country. So that money is spread pretty fucking thin. And and that means their debt though is real because, or it may be bigger than they say because, you know, nobody lies to make their debt bigger. They lie to make their GDP bigger. So at the minimum, it's about 400% GDP to debt to GDP ratio. The United States is at 116%. During World War II, we were, I think, 121%. And we just came out of COVID. It's not surprising at all. Like, all this is really, I don't want to bore you, but this is fucking normal as hell. And the important, you know, this is a situation where you thought you were having a heart attack. It turned out to be a panic attack, but your doctor is saying you need to get more sun and do some walking. And this is the next morning, and you got to get on your fucking feet and start walking around and take better care of your body and your psyche so it doesn't happen again. It is not you walking around with a bunch of tubes in your chest, you know, in a fucking gown with the butt open in a hallway for the next 10 months. That's not what it is. So there you go. I'm just saying.